Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about this here machine. I built this back in, or I started building it back in 2018, and that's going to continue because I've discovered a couple of things that I need to fix on this thing, and that's what we're going to talk about. But some of the things, all the other things I want to talk about is, how I came about building this thing and the kind of stuff that I chose to make it with. And so you can get a pretty good understanding of what it takes to build a machine like this. It takes a lot of preparation, a machine this size would probably be quite a bit of money. But, if you had one, you'd probably be happy with it, maybe. And maybe, if you skimp and you didn't spend, a lot of money on a big machine like this one, you might not be happy with it. It might have crummy motors, or it might have, components on it that don't really fit the bill, like rubber belts and things like that to move the axes around. And you might not like it, and you end up updating the thing. Or, maybe just saying, you know what, I'm just going to have to buy a better machine because this is not living up to my standards. I'm just going to show you what exactly the problem with this machine is. First off, when it started, it was all plaster. Yeah, it was all plywood. And even the Z-axis was all plywood, all this stuff here. This is where this aluminum is here now. This was all plywood. There was a Makita hand router in here that was very loud and obnoxiously loud. And right now, there's a spindle in here now, so this thing is pretty quiet, and it's well worth the money to buy a spindle. If you can afford to do that, you should do that. So here's the problem. And here's my setup. It's just a piece of, 1/4-inch metal laying on the bed of the machine. And I have a magnetic holder for this dial indicator. And as you can see, the dial indicator is up against the front of the gantry. So let me get you at a different angle so you can understand what we're doing here. So the gantry moves back and forth this way, and the problem that I'm having is this gantry is not as stiff as what it needs to be. So let me show you what's going on. Here's the indicator. It's in inches. It's got a lot of glare on it because this light is shining on it in a bad way. Now there we go. That's a little bit better. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hand and I'm going to put it right here. This is the top of the Z-axis right next to the motor. Now you can see that was 0 a second ago. And just by putting my hand on it, it moves. I'm not putting any pressure on this thing whatsoever. I just put my hand on it. I take it off. That's a 1/2 thousandths. Put my hand back, it's 2, and it's much worse than this. So let me show you what happens when I put a little pressure on it. This is just mild pressure. That's 7 thousandths. I'm going to lean on it a little bit more. That's 12 and more. So we're talking close to 30 thousandths. Well, now we have 30 thousandths. I'm pushing backwards on this towards the plus Y direction. So you can see that thing is not very stiff at all. I mean, I'm not putting all that much, maybe 5 or 10 pounds, somewhere in that neck of the woods. Now, when I let go of it completely now, you can see that it didn't go back to 0. So I'm going to bump it. And it's still, no matter what I do, it doesn't want to go back to 0. So now I'm going to pull on it towards me in the y, negative Y direction. I'm going to pull pretty hard. That's like 60 thousandths of movement. So that 60 thousand of movement, what that does is it makes, when you're cutting something, the bit that's in the machine, when it moves backwards, it's going to go like this, right? It's going to tilt towards you. And when it goes the other direction, it's going to go the other way because of the force of the cutting of the material. It's going to push that router bit back and forth. So what does that cause? That causes a lot of vibration because the thing is moving all around on you. And I don't know, I'm going to try and set this thing right here so that, of course, I don't have a very big bit in there. And I'm going to see if I can show you what that does to the bit. And I don't know if you can see that, but you can see the whole router or the spindle going up and going down. And as it's going back, it's going up and down, it's also going forward and backwards at the bottom of that bit. You probably can't see that. I can't see it, so you probably can't either. But you see what the problem here is. This thing is very loose because there's no, that's huge. That's like, I'm just yanking on this thing. It's going up to like 60 thousandths. And that's just towards the y, negative Y. This is towards plus Y. So you can see that that thing is moving a lot. See if I can get a wider view here without shaking the camera too much. Here we go. My indicator out of the way. And I'll show you why I think that's happening. Let me just set this camera down. And oop. And we're going to bring this thing towards us a little bit. And then turn it on. Those are the motors that were engaging. That little noise. We're going to talk about the motors extensively in another video. It's going to be part of this series of videos that I'm making about this machine. So let me show you the reason why this thing is loose. You can see all the way down the other end of this thing. This is nothing but a plywood box. It's got two pieces of plywood on the front. It's got one on the back, it's got one on the bottom that actually looks like two, but that's just a spacer at the bottom. And then there's one at the top. This thing is all glued together. It's all screwed together. And I was figuring that I was eventually going to put some gussets in here to keep this thing from flexing like that. But I've changed my mind. And I'm going to get rid of this plywood box entirely. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the rail, the ball screw, all of this lumber that's down here, and I'm going to replace it all with a different type of lumber, which we're going to see in a minute. By doing this, it's going to make this machine a whole lot stiffer, and I think it's going to work a whole lot better. Like I said, this was when I first made this thing was entirely made out of plywood. So I not only had this movement in the gantry because the gantry box itself was not solid enough, but this whole gantry was made out of wood. plywood, actually. And it had all these same components on it except for the motor. It had stepper motors on it. And it didn't have that spindle. It had a regular Makita hand router on there. And it worked okay. I mean, it wasn't great. It did a lot of vibrating and doing a lot of other things, but it was not great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all this plywood out of here. And before I do that, I have to make some parts that I'm going to put back on here when I put this back together. So let me show you what I'm going to put back here instead of that plywood. I went out and bought some of this stuff. This right here is 1 3/4 inch thick LVL beams that you can buy for a very reasonable price. These things are stiff as you don't even want to know. It's just like insane. You know, I can put this between 2 blocks of wood and stand on the middle of it and it doesn't bend. So that's what I'm going to replace all that wood with. So my gantry is going to be made out of this stuff. And the support blocks for the, I got a lot of junk in here. I'm doing a job for a guy and it's taking over my shop. I'm going to put these pieces underneath the ball screws or underneath the rails, and then I'm going to have the ball screws mounted on the side so that they're out in the open where they can get, you know, sawdust all over them all the time and metal and all kinds of whatever I'm cutting. And then these are going to be more things to raise up the gantry so I have more clearance underneath the gantry so I can cut bigger pieces of stuff. But that's what I'm up to, and I'm gonna go through all the different components that I used on this machine to build it so that you can understand what kind of stuff you need to do this. I'm also going to discuss the stuff that I did not choose. So that'll be in another segment of this video series. So stay tuned. See you later. Bye.